This is video 3.54 geometry. Today we're going to be talking about slopes of lines. Hopefully you remember all of this from algebra when we did the slope of a line. So you've got your rise, which is going to be your difference in your y values between any 2 points on a line, and your run, which is the difference of the x values between any 2 points on a line. And if your slope is going to be your ratio of rise to run, it's going to always be as a fraction because it is a ratio. All right, so our ratio is going to be as written as a fraction of rise to run, or rise over run. That's kind of messy R right there. The equation that the formula you would use to find your slope. Slope is always identified in algebra as an m, and that is going to be your y of one of your points minus the y of your other. So we're going to call it y2, y1, and in the same order, the difference between your x's. So if you had a point that was 1, 2, and a point that was 3, 4, if this is the first value that you put in your y, then this is the second. And since that was the first value that you put in your y, this has to be the first value that you put in your x. That would be your x2 minus your x1 in order to find your slope. And then from there, you just simplify. 4 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. So this would give you a slope of 1. So we're going to find the slope of the lines based on a graph that we're given. And we're wanting the slope of line AB is what we're going to find first. So when we do this, we are going to use the points that are given. So A is at the 0 on x, and y is at 2. So A is at 0, 2. B is at 5, and then you go up to 4. So it is at 5, 4. So to find the slope, we're going to find the difference between them. All right, so I'm going to do my top minus my bottom. I'm just going to say 2 minus 4. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. And 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So negative 2 over negative 5 would be your slope, or the more simplified form of that would be 2/5. Right, so that would be my slope of this line. Now, C and D, let's find the slope between the segments on the line CD. So let's start with our C here. We're going over to 4 and up to 5. So its point is at 4, 5. That's C. Our D, we go over to 4 and up to 2. Right, so when we find the difference between them, I'm going to do 5 minus 2 over 4 minus 4, which gives me a 3 over 0. As soon as you put a 0 on the bottom in your denominator, you should get a big alarm that goes off. You cannot divide a number by 0. This is a vertical line. Vertical lines have a slope of 0. Not 0, undefined. Vertical lines have an undefined slope. So anytime you have a vertical line and I ask you what the slope is, you're going to say undefined, because the x value doesn't change. It stays the same, and you can't divide a number by 0. How about these two lines? I'm going to give you a second. I'd like for you to find the slope of the line by yourself. All right, we're going to go with E first. E's values, the x is at 2, the y is at 5, so E is at 2, 5. F is at 7, 5. So I'm going to find the difference between my x's and my y's. My y's would be 5 minus 5. My x's would be 2 minus 7. That's going to give me 0 divided by negative 5. Now I've got a 0 again. Is this a good one or a bad one? This one is okay. You can have 0 cookies and divide it between 5 people. Everybody would get 0 cookies. You just can't divide 5 cookies between 0 people. So if you have a 0 on the top, the whole entire slope is going to be a 0. You'll notice this is a horizontal line. So horizontal lines always have a slope of 0 every single time. And if you looked at it as though you were a runner, you could see this is flat. We would say there's no steepness to that path at all. So it makes sense that it has a slope of 0. All right, let's look between G and H. So H here, I'm going to take that one first. It doesn't really matter which order you put them in. H is at 1, 7. And G is at 6, 2. So I'm going to find my difference between my y's. I'm going to do 7 minus 2 divided by 1 minus 6. That will give me 5 over negative 5, or a slope of negative 1. So something I want you to notice from the previous slide, remember, a line that looks like this is going to have a positive slope, and a line that looks like this is going to have a negative slope. So your horizontal line has a 0 slope, and a vertical line has an undefined slope. So there's a couple theorems that go with that. So parallel lines, in a coordinate plane, 2 non-vertical parallel lines are parallel if and only if they have the same slope. So that's how you know that 2 lines are parallel, is that they have the same slope. Any 2 vertical lines are parallel. Perpendicular lines, so in a coordinate plane you have your non-vertical lines. They are going to be perpendicular only if and only if the product of their slopes is 1. So if you take their slopes and you multiply them together, you would get a 1. So let's say 2/5 was one of the slopes, and the other was a negative 5/2. If you were to multiply this, because that's what product means, multiplying it, my 2's here would cancel down to a 1, my 5's would cancel down to a 1, leaving me with negative 1. So we would also say that this is the negative reciprocal. So anytime you're given a slope, if the other is flipped and opposite, they're going to be perpendicular. And anytime you have a vertical line and a horizontal line, they are going to be perpendicular to each other. So if you have a horizontal and you know it's horizontal, you have a vertical and you know it's a vertical, they will be perpendicular. So let's determine whether some lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. What we're going to do is we are going to graph these 4 points and identify the lines AB and CD, and then by looking at them and looking at their slopes, we'll be able to tell if they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So here's my graph, my coordinate plane I can graph them on. I'm going to graph A at 2, 1. So that's A. B is at 1, 5. So that's B. So here's my line right there. C is at 4, 2. And D is at 5, negative 2. C and D. Well, I can tell you right away that they are not perpendicular. They might be neither, and they might be parallel. What we need to do is check their slopes. So an easy way to check their slopes is we have these points. Let's check the change in y. So we're going down 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're saying it's down 4, and then over 1. So it has a slope of negative 4. This one, let's see how far we go down. We go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So negative 4 and over 1. They both have a slope of negative 4. So we would say that line AB is parallel to line CD. Right, I'm going to erase this and let's try another one. Right, so we are going to plot ST, U, and V and see what we get here. So S is at negative 2, 2, so that would be right there. T is at 5, negative 1. So we're going to kind of draw a line in between them. And then U is at 3, 4. So that's going to be there. And V is at negative 1, negative 4. So there's V. All right, I know right away these are not parallel. So we need to check and see if they're perpendicular. So to do that, I'm going to check my change and my rise over my change and run. So to go from S to T, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3. So that one is a -3. And I run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So -3/7 is going to be my slope. To go from V to U, let's count up. So we're going up to right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it has a rise of 8 and a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a 2. So I have a slope of -3/7 and a slope of 2. They are not the same slopes. They are not parallel, and they are not opposite reciprocals. So if we multiply them together, we would get -6/7. That doesn't equal -1. So they are neither parallel nor perpendicular. All right, so I'm just going to say neither. All right, let's try one more. So when I graph this, then I will check the slopes and I will know. So F is at 1, 1. G is at 2, 2. H is at 2, 1. Kind of made this one tight, didn't they? And J is at 1, 2. So these are definitely not parallel. Let's check and see if they are perpendicular. So to go from F to G, I rise 1, positive run. So I've got a 1/1, which is a slope of 1. And then from H to J, from J to H, I'm going to go down 1, which would be a -1, and then a positive run of 1. So then that would leave me with a slope of -1. Does 1 times -1 equal -1? Yes. So this one is perpendicular. So we would say that line FG is perpendicular to line HJ, right? So when we take their slopes and we multiply them together, 1 times -1 is going to give me -1. That's for sure how you know. That'll be it for today. We'll do some more of these when you get to class. I hope you're having a great evening. Bye.